Hello and welcome to Stellar Historian. This is where we explore the quiet corners of history, where you can relax, unwind and drift off to sleep while discovering the world as it once was. Tonight, we're going somewhere timeless. Imagine a warm desert night in ancient Egypt. The stars above are sharp and clear, hanging over the Nile like scattered jewels. You walk along a stone path lit only by flickering oil lamps. The air smells of burning myrrh and fresh papyrus, and ahead of you stands a temple, not just a place of worship, but a place to sleep and to dream. Because in ancient Egypt, dreams were not just imagination, they were sacred, they were guidance, and some people traveled for days to sleep inside a temple, hoping the gods would visit them in the night. In this episode, we'll explore these dream temples, also known as sleep temples, or temples of healing. We'll uncover why Egyptians believed dreams were divine messages, how temples were designed to guide the mind into sacred sleep, and what daily life might have been like for those who served and slept within these mysterious places. If you're enjoying these quiet journeys through history, please consider subscribing, liking, or leaving a comment. What historical ritual would you try if you could step into the past? We'd love to know. Now, let's take a deep breath and drift through time. Let's begin by placing ourselves in time. It's around 1500 BCE, the height of Egypt's new kingdom. This is the age of great pharaohs like Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, and later Ramses II. Egypt is wealthy, organized, and deeply spiritual. The Nile flows predictably, the temples are grand, and religion touches every part of daily life. Unlike many modern societies, the ancient Egyptians did not draw a hard line between science and religion, or between the body and the soul. Everything was connected: the sun, the seasons, health, dreams, even sleep. To them, dreams weren't just random thoughts. They were messages, prophecies, sometimes even cures. And because of that, sleep became something sacred, something that could be guided. This belief gave rise to a special kind of place, the dream temple. What is a dream temple, you wonder? Let me explain. A dream temple, also known by scholars as a sleep temple or a healing sanctuary, was a place where people came to sleep, not just to rest, but to receive divine messages during the night. The practice was known as incubation, from the Latin incubare, meaning to lie upon or to rest. The Egyptian term was different, of course, but the idea was the same: sleep as a form of sacred communication. Temples dedicated to gods like Imhotep, Serapis, and Thoth became famous for these rituals. Pilgrims came from across Egypt and beyond, hoping for dreams that would diagnose illness, reveal solutions to problems, or offer protection. These temples were not quiet museums. They were alive with incense, music, chants, and nightly rituals, and they were often connected to healing. In fact, the earliest dream temples may have functioned like a combination of clinic, retreat center, and spiritual training ground, thousands of years before modern psychology even had a name. So who were the gods Egyptians trusted to speak through dreams? Let's meet a few of them. Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, writing, and magic, was a key figure in dream work. He was said to record all knowledge, including the messages found in sleep. Many scribes and priests who interpreted dreams called upon Thoth for guidance and clarity. Then there's Serapis, a Greco-Egyptian fusion deity popular in later periods, particularly in Alexandria. Temples of Serapis often included healing sanctuaries, and dream incubation became a central ritual in his cult. And perhaps most famously, there's Imhotep, a real historical figure turned divine healer. Originally an architect, priest, and physician under Pharaoh Djoser, Imhotep was later deified as a god of medicine. His temples attracted many who hoped to be healed through sacred dreams. Some also turned to Bez, the protective dwarf god of childbirth, music, and dreams. Images of Bez, playful, fierce, often dancing, were sometimes placed near sleeping areas to ward off nightmares. Dreams were not random, they were communication. And if you knew how to listen, the gods would speak. Close your eyes and let's walk into one of these temples together. Picture sandstone walls rising around you, carved with sacred texts and painted with scenes of gods and the ceilings are high, echoing with the faint rustle of wind and whisper of footsteps. You remove your sandals, feet bare against the cool, smooth stone, and pass through an incense-scented hallway toward a quiet inner chamber. There is no bed, but a simple mat awaits you. Perhaps it's woven from papyrus or soft reeds. An oil lamp flickers beside it, and nearby a priest watches silently. His role is not to speak, but to guide, to protect, to pray while you sleep. Before you lie down, you've likely completed rituals, perhaps a fasting period, a cleansing bath, prayers offered, and anointing with sacred oils. This is not a casual nap. This is a ceremony. As you lie down and close your eyes, the priest may chant a quiet invocation. The temple around you is silent now, except for the gentle creaking of wood, the shift of flame, the sound of your breath. You are no longer in the world of the living alone. You are dreaming in the presence of God. It's easy to think of all this as superstition, but in many ways, these temples anticipated ideas modern sleep science is only just beginning to explore. Today, we know that sleep impacts healing, that dreams often reflect subconscious concerns, and that sleep environments, lighting, scent, sound, affect the quality of rest. Egyptian dream temples included all of these elements: controlled sensory input, symbolic surroundings, emotionally charged intention, and a belief in the importance of what you might see when your eyes were closed. It's not so different from guided meditation, lucid dreaming, or even therapy, except it was done in a stone sanctuary under the stars, thousands of years ago. Now that you've arrived at the temple, let's talk about what it actually took to prepare for a dream. Dreaming in a temple wasn't something you did on a whim. Pilgrims didn't just wander in off the desert and lie down. There were steps, rituals, a way to get ready both physically and spiritually for what might come in. This process was called incubation, and it usually began days or even weeks before the actual night inside the sacred chamber. Most temple dreamers fasted for a period of time before arrival, not only to show devotion, but to clear the body. A lighter body was believed to be more receptive to divine messages. The duration varied, but 3 days was common. During that time they drank only water or herbal infusion. They also bathed in sacred pools, often found on the temple grounds, and rubbed their skin with oils made from lotus, cedar, or myrrh. Some even shaved their heads as a gesture of humility and cleanliness. To modern ears, this might sound like wellness, but in Egypt it was more than hygiene. It was spiritual positioning, preparing to become a vessel for contact with the gods. Before sleep, dreamers brought offerings, sometimes a piece of jewelry, a carved figurine, food, or a small inscribed tablet, asking for help. These offerings were left at the foot of a statue, most often of Imhotep Thoth or Serapis, depending on the temple. Some left detailed notes carved or inked in hieratic script, explaining their condition or question. These were like spiritual appointment letters, addressed to the divine. As night fell, the tone of the temple changed. The day's rituals faded, the outer courtyards emptied. The sun's heat surrendered to cooler air that drifted through stone colonnades. Priests moved quietly through the halls, carrying lanterns, checking mats, muttering prayers under their breath. For the few allowed to sleep within the temple, often 1 or 2 at a time, the next hours were sacred. There were 3 main places where dreamers might sleep. The inner chamber, which was near the statue of the god, considered the most powerful location. The hypostyle hall, a space filled with stone columns, cooler and darker, often reserved for multiple dreamers. The roof or upper chamber, which was open to the night sky and used for dreams involving celestial guidance. The dreamer would lie on a woven mat or simple bed of reeds. Nearby, a temple priest might sit in silent prayer, tending a flame or keeping watch. It was believed that a god's presence could enter the dream at any moment, but only if the space was properly protected. So, you might be wondering, what did they dream? That's the hard part, because every dream was different. Some were vivid and direct, a voice saying what to do. Others were strange and symbolic, a falcon circling overhead, a stream running dry, a snake coiled around a flower. To the Egyptians, symbols mattered, and many believed that the god appeared in forms you'd recognize, or in ways that reflected your needs. Some saw the god as a human, speaking plainly. Others saw animals, hawks, cats, crocodiles,
whose behavior carried messages. Others experienced visits from the dead, ancestors, lost friends, acting as messengers on behalf of the divine. In modern terms, these dreams might seem like metaphors, but to Egyptians they were real. They were not imagination. They were instruction. Come morning, the dreamer was not left alone to interpret what they saw. After waking, they would sit with a temple scribe or dream priest, sometimes called a dream interpreter. These were not prophets. They were trained experts, often literate and skilled in symbolic reading. They might reference a dream book, which was collections of known dream symbols and their meanings. Several of these ancient Egyptian dream books still survive today, written on papyrus scroll. One such book from the Ramesside period includes over 100 dreams, each paired with an interpretation. Examples include, if one dreams of being bitten by a crocodile, beware betrayal from a friend. These books helped guide the interpreter, but the personal context was always important. The priest might ask, "Who did you see?" or "How did you feel when you woke?" They weren't just translating symbols, they were deciphering guidance, health messages, and even political or spiritual decisions. Some dreamers returned to the temple repeatedly, seeking clarity. Others never came back, either because their dream was too strange, or perhaps too true. Get comfortable and let's spend some time walking through a full day inside a dream temple, from the perspective of someone who worked there. Imagine you are a young temple scribe, barely 20 years old. You wake before sunrise, in a small room behind the main temple complex. The air is cool and still. You light a lamp, check your ink supply, and whisper a short prayer to Thoth, god of writing. By the time the first light touches the river, the priest of the morning offerings is already preparing incense. You assist by recording donations, a roll of linen, 2 figs, and a small bronze figurine, left by a visiting merchant who hopes to dream of his father. By mid-morning you are summoned to the Hall of the Dreamers, which is a quiet space near the rear of the temple. One visitor, a woman from Thebes, has had a dream involving a falcon flying through fire. She is weeping. The interpreter reads it as a warning, her son may be in danger. You note it in your scroll, and your hand trembles slightly. You break for a short meal, dried dates and barley bread, and then copy inscriptions for the archivist. You are surrounded by scrolls and old tablets, many of which contain the dreams of people long dead. At sunset, you help light the lamps and prepare mats for the next sleeper. Tonight there is only one, an older man seeking forgiveness.
He fasted for 5 days and arrived barefoot. You place a clean sheet of papyrus near his mat, in case he wakes with something to say before the memory fades. When night falls, you climb to the roof for a moment's breath. The sky is vast and full of stars. The only sounds are the chirping of insects and the occasional creak of stone cooling in the night air. You wonder, as you often do the gods really speak through dreams? Or are dreams just another way to say what we already know? You don't write the question down, you just watch the oil lamp flicker and listen. While the focus of these temples was dreaming, the dreamers were only one part of the temple ecosystem. Each temple was a world of its own, a city in miniature, with dozens, sometimes hundreds of people living and working within its wall. There were priests, scribes, musicians, gardeners, kitchen workers, security guards, and more. Some were highly trained, others performed simple tasks like grinding incense or fetching water. Even within the priesthood, there were levels: high priests who led rituals, assistant priests who handled the offerings, and ritual specialists who interpreted dreams or oversaw healing chants. Many of the workers lived in adjacent quarters. Their days were structured, not unlike a monastery: early rising, ritual purification, communal meals, task rotation. Some roles required ritual purity, a strict set of cleanliness, celibacy, and dietary rules. Others did not. There were also women working in the temples, a fact often overlooked. Some served as chantresses, musicians, or herbalists. Others were spiritual healers or midwives, called upon when dreams involved childbirth, fertility, or the divine feminine. In the best of cases, a dreamer left the temple with clarity. They might receive instructions for healing, a change in diet, an herbal remedy, a pilgrimage. Sometimes they were told to reconcile with someone, to change a behavior, or to make a specific offering to a god. There are scrolls that describe miraculous recoveries. A woman cured of fever after dreaming of a bird washing its wings in oil. A farmer who stopped having night terrors after burning incense from a particular tree. A blind man who claimed to see light again after a night in the temple of Serapis. But not every dream brought relief. Some dreams were dark, images of death, punishment or judgment. In those cases, the interpreter might prescribe atonement rituals, protective amulets or return visits. It was not unusual for repeat dreamers to come back again and again, hoping for a better message, and some simply left in silence, afraid of what they'd seen, or unsure of what it meant. Not all who seek answers are ready to receive them. As Egypt changed, politically, religiously, and culturally, the dream temples began to fade. With the rise of Greek and Roman influence, Egyptian religious traditions began to blend with foreign practices. Some temples adapted, especially those aligned with Serapis and other Greco-Egyptian deities. But over time, the spread of Christianity led to the gradual dismantling of the older cults. Temples once filled with chants and dreams were abandoned, repurposed or destroyed. Some were turned into churches, others became quarries for stone. By the 4th and 5th centuries CE, the last active dream temples had gone silent, but their legacy did not vanish. Greek and Roman writers referenced the Egyptian method. Early Christians adapted the idea of sacred sleep, especially in monasteries where visions and dreams still carried spiritual weight. Later, Islamic scholars preserved and translated many dream texts, keeping the symbolic systems alive, and of course dreams themselves never disappeared. We still have them, still interpret them, still wonder what they mean. In some ways, the dream temple never really closed. Let's return to that temple one last time. You're lying on a woven mat in the inner chamber. The air is warm, but your fingers rest on a smooth piece of carved stone. Somewhere a priest is whispering prayers, not loudly, just enough for the gods to hear. The oil lamp beside you flickers once, then steadies. You close your eyes. Maybe you dream, maybe you don't. But even in silence, something settled. A sense of being held, watched over, remembered. When morning comes, the priest will ask you what you saw, and whether or not you speak, your dream will become part of something larger. Because the Egyptians believed that sleep was not an escape from life, it was a door into it. Thank you for joining me on this quiet journey through ancient Egypt's dream temples. If this episode helped you relax, feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave a like or comment below. What ancient ritual would you try if you could step into the past? We'll be exploring more dreamlike corners of history in upcoming episodes, from the night markets of ancient China to the healing chants of West African temples. Until then, may your dreams be soft, may your sleep be deep, and may you always find the quiet places where history whispers and time drifts. Good night.